7 women accused him of having inappropriately touched them. He used his announcement to call out President Trump and the Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore.
I, of all people, am aware that there is some irony in the fact that I am leaving while a man who has bragged on tape about his history of sexual assault sits in the Oval Office, and a man who has repeatedly preyed on young girls campaigns for the Senate with the full support of his party.
Simon Marks is following the story in Washington, D.C. He says Franken's political future was settled when his own party colleagues, including almost all the women in the Democrat Senate caucus, asked him to step down.
At the end of the day, he had no choice at all. The die was cast within the last 24 hours when you saw so many Democrats in the U.S. Senate, including so many women Democrats in the U.S. Senate, saying that it was time for him to go. He had done his best over the course of the last week to try and tough things out, but as more stories began to surface and more allegations were ranged against him, the climate here now simply did not allow him to survive. Democrats view his departure, and he hasn't departed yet. He says he will resign at some point over the course of the next few weeks as an opportunity for them to sort of reset the dialogue here after days in which the Democratic Party has seemed somewhat lost following attempts by Nancy Pelosi, the party's leader in the House of Representatives, to defend some of those Democrats who have found themselves caught in this particular snare. But whatever the allegations against Al Franken, and as I say, there are still stories and accusations piling up against him. At the end of the day, the climate here has moved so rapidly over the last 2 or 3 weeks that he really was left with no alternative but to make that speech on the floor of the Senate, even as he did so, though, pointing to what he referred to as the irony of the fact that he was having to go, but Donald Trump would be staying in office at the White House.